The story begins when he moves into a quiet neighborhood, hoping for peace and a fresh start. He thinks this place will be calm, friendly, and normal. But from the very first day, something feels a little strange. The houses look perfect, the lawns look perfect, even the mailboxes stand in perfect lines. But the people seem scared. They walk fast, they avoid eye contact, and they look worried as if someone is always watching them. He soon learns who they are, afraid of her. Her name is Karen. She is the head of the HOA. And everyone knows she is not just strict, she is extreme. She keeps a notebook in her hand all the time. She writes down everything. She sees every little mistake, every small rule someone breaks. If a lawn is 1 inch too long, she complains. If a trash bin is outside for 5 minutes, she takes a picture and sends a warning letter. People call her security camera without wires. The moment she sees him unloading boxes, she walks straight toward him. Without smiling, without greeting, she asks, "Do you know the HOA rules?" He nods politely and says, "Yes, I read the booklet." She narrows her eyes. "Good. Follow them." He tries to ignore her attitude. He is a calm man, and he does not want arguments. He just finishes his work and goes inside. But later that day, he notices Karen standing on the sidewalk. Staring at something with deep suspicion, she is staring at his Jeep. It is an old but strong Jeep, a little bigger than normal, with dark windows and a heavy lock on the steering wheel. It looks different from the usual shiny family cars in the neighborhood. He sees Karen walk around it slowly, observing every angle like a detective. She even bends down to look under the vehicle. He watches from his window and sighs. Here we go, he thinks. The next morning, as he goes out to work, Karen appears again, this time with her notebook open. "This Jeep," she says sharply, "is not approved." He frowns a little. "Approved? I already checked the rules. My car is fine here." "It looks suspicious," Karen insists. "It looks like some kind of dangerous vehicle." He smiles politely. "No, it's completely legal. Don't worry." But she does worry. A lot. Too much. From that day, she starts watching the Jeep more closely. She stands near it whenever he parks. She takes photos from different angles. Sometimes she touches the mirrors and tries to peek inside. At one point, she even measures the distance from the Jeep to the curb, as if trying to find a mistake. Neighbors quietly warn him. "She has a problem with everyone," one neighbor says. "She thinks she runs the whole street," another adds. "Be careful." She doesn't stop until she gets what she wants. Still, he tries to stay calm. He knows the Jeep looks unusual, and he knows Karen is controlling. But he thinks this is just a phase. He is wrong. One evening, he catches Karen again near the Jeep. She pretends to check her mailbox, but her eyes keep jumping toward the vehicle. When she sees him watching her, she quickly walks away, but not before writing something in her notebook. That night, he hears voices outside. When he peeks through the blinds, he sees Karen walking with a flashlight, shining it directly on the Jeep. She circles the vehicle again and again, like she is studying it for a secret mission. She even tries to pull the lock lightly, as if testing its strength. He feels annoyed now. This is getting too much. The next day, Karen knocks on his door. "I reported your Jeep to the HOA board," she says proudly. "It must be removed." He keeps his cool. "They already approved it," he reminds her. She shakes her head. "They didn't understand. I will handle it myself." Her words stay in his mind for hours. Handle it myself. What does she mean? Why is she so obsessed? He does not know yet. But soon, very soon, he will find out. And that discovery will turn his quiet life into a storm. Karen's obsession with the Jeep grows stronger each day. It becomes almost like a routine for her. Every morning she walks by the vehicle as if she is inspecting a crime scene. Every evening, she stands near it like a guard checking a suspicious object. And every night, she watches it from her window with the lights off. The Jeep has become her enemy. But for him, the Jeep is just a vehicle he uses for special work. A vehicle that must remain untouched. He knows the value of the vehicle, and he knows the responsibility that comes with it. But he also knows something else. Karen is planning something. Her behavior has changed. She no longer complains loudly or argues with him. Instead, she moves quietly and watches silently, like someone hiding a secret. One evening, he returns home and notices small things that feel wrong. The Jeep's side mirror is slightly tilted. The dust on the windshield shows fingerprints, and the steering wheel lock has marks, teeny scratches, like someone tried to tug it. He looks around the parking lot. There is no one there, only the sound of distant traffic. But he can feel it. Someone touched the Jeep. Someone tried something. His first thought is Karen, but he has no proof. He decides to stay alert. Meanwhile, Karen begins preparing her plan. Inside her house, she spreads the HOA rulebook across her dining table. She circles lines with a red pen. She makes notes, writes phrases like unsafe vehicle, rule violation, and threat to community. Even prints out photos of the Jeep from different angles and pins them to a board. Like a detective tracking a suspect in her mind, she believes she is protecting the neighborhood. She thinks she is the hero. Across the street, neighbors watch her strange behavior from behind curtains. They whisper, "She's getting worse. She's planning something again. This time it looks serious." Karen doesn't care. She believes the Jeep is dangerous. She believes the owner is hiding something. And because of her imagination, she now sees him as a problem too. Late one night, Karen steps outside holding her flashlight and phone. She walks slowly, checking every shadow. When she reaches the parking area, she shines the flashlight on the Jeep. The beam reflects off the metallic surface, and she squints as if searching for hidden clues. She walks around it 3 times, then she stops, pulls out her phone and makes a call. "I need a tow truck," she whispers. "Yes, tonight. It's an abandoned vehicle. It must be removed immediately." She lies without hesitation. The person on the other end asks questions, but Karen answers with confidence. "Yes, I'm the HOA president. Yes, it's a danger. I take full responsibility." She hangs up and smiles slightly. Her plan has begun. He, on the other hand, sits inside his house, unaware of what is about to happen. But something feels off. A strange instinct tells him to check the window. When he does, he notices Karen's flashlight moving around the Jeep again. He sighs in frustration. Why is she doing this? He mutters. What is her problem? But he decides not to confront her. He doesn't want trouble. He hopes she will eventually stop. Karen will not stop. Around midnight, the tow truck arrives. The heavy vehicle drives slowly with its headlights dim. Karen rushes toward it and greets the driver. "There it is," she says, pointing at the Jeep. "Remove it quickly." The tow truck driver hesitates. "Ma'am, it has a steering lock." "And the Jeep looks fine," Karen insists. "Cut the lock if you have to. The owner abandoned it. This is official HOA action." Her voice is sharp and full of authority. The driver, tired and wanting to finish his job, decides not to argue. He takes out his tools. Karen watches eagerly. The driver bends beside the Jeep and begins cutting the lock. Sparks flash in the night. The metallic sound echoes across the quiet street. Inside his house, he hears a distant noise like metal hitting metal. He frowns, walks to the window, and listens. Meanwhile, outside, the lock breaks. Karen smiles in victory. The tow truck begins hooking the Jeep, and the quiet night is about to explode into chaos. The next morning begins like any other day. The sun rises slowly, casting soft golden light across the neighborhood. Birds chirp, sprinklers turn on, and people start their usual routines. But inside his house, he wakes up with a strange feeling, an uneasy heaviness in his chest. Last night's noises still echo in his mind. He brushes it off, thinking maybe it was just someone fixing something. He gets ready, grabs his keys, and steps outside with a calm mind. But the calm doesn't last long. As soon as he turns toward the parking area, his heart stops. His Jeep is gone. For a few seconds, he simply stands there in confusion. His eyes scan the spot again and again, hoping his mind is playing tricks. But the space is empty. Completely empty. Only shadows and dust remain where the Jeep once stood. Then he sees something else on the ground. The cut steering lock. It lies there like a broken bone metal. Twisted, cut edges blackened from heat. His jaw tightens. His heartbeat speeds up. Someone took the Jeep. Someone broke the lock. Someone crossed the line. He kneels down, touches the broken lock, and feels the cold metal. The realization hits him harder now. This isn't a normal theft. It's too clean, too planned. Before he can think further, a voice calls out, "Hey, you're late, man. Should have seen it." It was crazy. Turns around and sees his neighbor breathless and wide-eyed. "What happened?" he asks sharply. The neighbor lifts his shoulders, still shocked. "It was Karen. She was here at midnight. She brought a tow truck. She ordered them to take your Jeep." He straightens slowly. "Karen, she did this." The neighbor nods quickly. "She said your Jeep was abandoned." She looked very confident, yelling at the tow guy, telling him she had power. They cut the lock and pulled it away. Anger and disbelief fill him at the same time. He knew Karen was troublesome, but he never imagined she would go this far. Stealing a vehicle, cutting a lock, making false claims. Another neighbor joins in. "We tried to stop her," he says. "And we told her you used the Jeep every day. But she ignored us, said she had authority." He rubs his forehead. This is bigger than just a neighborhood argument. The Jeep is not just a Jeep. It belongs to a special police task force. It carries sensitive equipment. It has information inside that shouldn't fall into the wrong hands. Most importantly, its disappearance could create serious legal trouble. He takes a deep breath. Did the tow truck say where they were taking it? The neighbors shake their heads. No, they just said, "We're following HOA instructions." Then they drove off. He stands up, mind racing. He needs to act fast. First, he takes photos of the broken lock, the empty parking spot, and the ground. Evidence. Then he calls the tow company. They deny responsibility. They say, "We only follow what the HOA president requests. She said it was unauthorized." Unauthorized. His hands tighten into fists. "This is theft," he says. "You cut the lock. That Jeep is not abandoned." The tow company manager suddenly becomes nervous. Ma'am said she had permission." "We didn't know." He hangs up. He already knows the next call he must make. He dials the number for the police. The task force supervisor, the person responsible for the Jeep and the operations linked to it. When the officer answers, he speaks quickly. "Sir." The Jeep is gone. Someone cut the lock and had it towed last night. There is silence on the other end. Long, heavy silence. Then the officer says in a hard voice, "Stay where you are. We're coming immediately." Within minutes, 2 unmarked police vehicles race toward the neighborhood. Officers step out with serious faces. They inspect the broken lock. They question the neighbors. They take notes. One officer whispers to the supervisor, "This isn't normal. It would take a government vehicle." The supervisor's eyes turn cold. Whoever did this is in serious trouble. He watches all this quietly, feeling the weight of the situation growing bigger and darker. The officers turn to him. "We will track the Jeep," the supervisor says. "It has GPS. We'll find it. But tell us something." He nods slowly. "Who is this lady?" "Karen." The atmosphere in the neighborhood changes the moment the police task force arrives. It feels like the calm air suddenly becomes heavy, charged with tension. Neighbors peek from behind curtains. Dogs stop barking. Even the wind seems to pause, as if waiting for what will happen next. He stands near the broken lock, watching the officers carefully examine every detail. The metal is still cold, but the cut marks look fresh. One officer touches it with gloves and mutters, "Clean cut. Industrial tool. Not done by a random person." Another officer kneels down and studies the ground. "Tire marks," he says. "Tow truck. Probably came around midnight." The task force supervisor steps forward tall, serious, someone who rarely shows emotion. But today, there is anger in his eyes. He turns to him and asks, "Who exactly ordered this Jeep to be towed?" "Her name is Karen. She's the head of the HOA." The officers exchange looks. Some are confused. Some are annoyed. One even raises an eyebrow like he can't believe what he just heard. "An HOA president?" the supervisor repeats. She took a government vehicle. He nods. The supervisor shakes his head in disbelief. This is not a small problem. She interfered with federal equipment. She tampered with an active operation. He already knows this is serious, but hearing it out loud makes him worry even more. We need to move fast, the supervisor says. Start the GPS tracker. Find the signal. One officer pulls out a tablet and types quickly. A map appears on the screen. A blinking dot starts moving slowly, then stops. Sir, the officer says, the Jeep is not moving. It looks like it's at a tow yard 2 miles away. The supervisor nods. Good. At least it's not in the wrong hands yet. He points to 2 officers. You, take statements from neighbors. Get everything they saw. You come with me. Then he turns to him. You're coming too. Walk toward the police vehicles. As they pass the houses, more neighbors step outside. One whispers, they're finally dealing with her. Another murmurs, she went too far this time. He can feel everyone's fear of Karen, and their silence breaking now that the police are here. Perhaps they were waiting for someone brave enough to stand up to her. Today, that moment has come. Inside the unmarked police SUV, the supervisor asks him to explain everything from the beginning. He tells them about Karen's obsession with the Jeep, her late-night visits, her notes, her warnings, her threats. The officers listen carefully, exchanging looks again and again. One of them finally says, "This woman seems unstable." Another adds, "and dangerous." And when they reach the tow yard, the scene becomes even more intense. The workers there look nervous as the police walk in. The tow yard manager wipes sweat from his forehead and forces a smile. Can I help you, officers?" The supervisor steps forward. "Where is the Jeep you towed last night?" Manager freezes. His eyes widen. The Jeep? The lady said it was abandoned. "Where is it?" The supervisor's voice is calm but sharp like a blade. The manager quickly leads them toward a fenced area. There it is, the Jeep. Dirty, its tires covered with dust, one side slightly scratched from the tow, but still intact. He feels a wave of relief. The Jeep is safe. But the officers look even more serious now. One officer opens the door and inspects the inside. "Equipment untouched," he says. "We're lucky." Another officer taps the GPS device. It's still active. The supervisor turns to the manager. "Who ordered this tow?" The manager hesitates. "A woman. Said she was HOA president. Said the owner abandoned the Jeep. Said she had authority." The supervisor's face darkens. "She lied. And because of her, you participated in a federal violation." The manager almost collapses in fear. The supervisor pulls out his phone. It's time to speak to Karen. He dials back in the neighborhood. Karen sits proudly on her porch, believing she finally fixed the problem. She sips her coffee with a victorious smile until her phone rings. She answers casually. "Hello, Karen speaking." The supervisor's voice hits her like thunder. "This is the police task force. You need to meet us immediately." Her smile disappears. "What? What did I do?" she stammers. The supervisor responds coldly. "You know exactly what you did?" She doesn't. Not yet. But she's about to find out just how big the mistake really was. Karen walks toward her front door with stiff steps, her phone still shaking in her hand. She tries to fix her hair, adjust her shirt, and calm her breathing. But nothing works. Her confidence, the same confidence that pushed her to tow the Jeep now, begins to fade like mist in sunlight. She steps outside just as the police, task force vehicles pull into the neighborhood. The residents, who usually avoid drama, come out of their homes one by one. Some stand on porches, others hide behind trees. Everyone knows something big is happening. But Karen has no idea how much trouble she's in. The task force supervisor steps out first. His face is unreadable. No smile, no anger, just cold calm. Behind him, 2 officers walk with firm, professional steps. He walks beside them. Watching silently, Karen forces a smile and tries to sound confident. "Oh, officers. You must be here because of that Jeep. I'm so glad. I was trying to keep the community safe." The supervisor stops in front of her, his eyes locked on hers. "Karen, we need to talk." "Right now?" Her smile twitches. Oh, of course. But surely you understand. I'm the HOA president. There are rules, and that vehicle was. The supervisor lifts his hand, cutting her off. Stop. First, answer one question clearly. Did you order a tow truck to remove a Jeep last night? Karen straightens her back as if proud of it. Yes, I did. It was suspicious. It looked abandoned. I was doing my duty, the neighbors murmur. Some even roll their eyes. They know exactly what kind of duties Karen likes to take. The supervisor takes one step closer. That Jeep belongs to a police task force. Karen blinks. What? It is government property, he says slowly. Part of an active operation. You ordered it to be moved. You cut the lock. You tampered with it. Karen's face drains of color. No, you must be mistaken. I didn't know. Nobody told me? You never asked? The supervisor replies. You just acted. He shows her the broken lock in an evidence bag. This is a federal violation. Karen's legs tremble. But I thought it was dangerous. The windows were dark. The lock was strange. I was protecting the neighborhood. Forcing a tow truck to cut a lock is not protection, the officer beside him says. It's illegal. Karen swallows hard. Her voice becomes tiny. I'm HOA president. I thought I had authority. You have no authority, the supervisor says firmly. Not over government vehicles. Not over private property. And definitely not over law enforcement. Karen looks around desperately, hoping someone will defend her. But the neighbors avoid her eyes. Some even cross their arms, almost enjoying the scene. Her power, her boldness, her arrogance, all of it is falling apart right in front of them. The supervisor continues. Now we need statements from you. Every detail, every action, every instruction you gave that tow truck. Karen tries to speak but only stammers. I only wanted to help. You helped no one, the supervisor says. You put a federal operation at risk. He steps aside so she can see him standing there. Their eyes meet. She sees disappointment, anger, and disbelief all mixed together. She looks down quickly. I didn't know, she whispers. He replies quietly but firmly. You didn't care to know? Another officer brings out a clipboard. Karen, you are not under arrest right now, but you are facing multiple violations. There will be fines. There may be further charges after the investigation, and the HOA board has been notified. Karen gasps. The board? No, they can't. Oh, they can, the officer says, and they will. At that moment, the HOA vice president, a quiet man who always stayed in the background, steps forward. Karen, he says calmly, you have abused your position for years. This time, you went too far. Karen looks at him in shock. You're removing me? Immediately, he says, her mouth opens, but no sound comes out. She looks around the neighborhood she once controlled now, full of people watching her fall. The supervisor turns to his team. Let's finish the paperwork. Karen stands frozen as they walk back toward their vehicles. Her kingdom has collapsed. Her power is gone. And the worst part? She did it to herself. The sun begins to set over the neighborhood, painting the houses in soft orange light. But today, the street does not feel peaceful. After the police confrontation, after Karen's collapse, after the truth came out, everyone feels a strange mix of relief and shock. Neighbors whisper quietly, children stare with curious eyes, and the air feels lighter. Almost like a long storm finally passed. He stands near his Jeep, now safely parked after being recovered from the tow yard. The police task force finished their investigation for the day and left. With strict warnings for the HOA, the tow company apologized at least 5 times. And Karen, once the loudest voice on the street, now hides behind closed curtains with her lights off. He touches the Jeep's door gently. It has a few scratches, a dent that wasn't there before, and dust from the tow yard. But it is safe. That's what matters. He remembers the moment the task force escorted the Jeep back. Neighbors watched like spectators at the end of a movie. Some even clapped quietly. One elderly man whispered, finally, peace. But peace is not what he feels inside. He feels something deeper, something heavy, but meaningful. a lesson as he stands there. The HOA vice president slowly walks toward him. "Hey," the man says softly. "I wanted to apologize for everything. We should have stopped her earlier," shakes his head. "It's not your fault." The vice president sighs. "We all saw what she was doing, but nobody had the courage to speak up. She made everyone feel small. We let her take too much control." He nods. "Power can blind people, and fear keeps others silent," the vice president replies. "But after today, things will change here." The man gives him a sincere smile before walking away. More neighbors come by, each one saying almost the same thing. "Sorry you had to go through that. She's been a nightmare for years. Thank you for exposing her." He listens politely, but inside, he thinks about something else. How quickly a simple person can become dangerous when they believe they have unlimited power. How quickly assumptions can turn into actions. How one person's pride can risk so many others. Later that evening, as the sky darkens, he decides to take one last walk around the neighborhood. Everything looks calm again. The grass is still trimmed, the mailboxes are still lined up, but something feels different. Not fear. Freedom. As he passes Karen's house, he stops for a moment. The curtains twitch slightly, as if someone is watching from inside. He doesn't need to see her face to know she is terrified of consequences, of judgment, of losing control. He almost feels sorry for her. Almost. She made her choices. He continues walking until he reaches the small community park. He sits on a bench, breathes deeply, and finally lets his body relax. The last few days have been exhausting mentally and emotionally. But now, things feel stable again. His phone buzzes. It's the task force supervisor. "Everything's handled," the message reads. "Jeep is safe. Operation continues. Thank you for reporting fast." He smiles. They trust him, and he trusts them. The world outside this quiet neighborhood is full of real dangers, criminals, operations, missions that matter. But today, the biggest trouble came from a house only 20 steps away. Life is strange like that. As he stands up to return home, he sees two teenagers riding bikes down the street, laughing loudly. A woman waters her plants. A man walks his dog. The neighborhood breathes normally again. When he reaches his driveway, he looks at his Jeep one more time. It stands like a silent guardian, strong, reliable. It's understood by someone who never cared to ask. He places his hand on the hood and whispers to himself, "It's over." But then he smiles a little, or maybe it's the beginning of something better. He walks inside his house, locks the door gently, and turns off the lights. Peace finally settles in his heart. He knows he did nothing wrong. He knows he stayed calm, patient, respectful even when faced with madness. And the lesson becomes clear. Sometimes the real danger isn't a weapon or a criminal. Sometimes the danger is a person who believes they are always right. He learned it the hard way. The neighborhood learned it too. And Karen, she learned it last.